Okay, let me share the screen then with you. Okay, hello everyone. Before I start again, I would like to make one announcement. The announcement is about the quiz that you're gonna write it, the last quiz. If you did the quiz already and you have got a good mark on it, you don't need to make the second one, the third one, sorry, because I'm gonna select the 2 best quizzes out of 3. So if you already got a good quizzes results, then you don't need to go with the third one. If you wish to go, you're welcome. And the third quiz will be on Tuesday. It is 21st of April, 2020. The time is so quick, oh my gosh. It was just yesterday, 1st of April, now it's 21st of April. Anyway, so quiz number 3, that will include the chapter, or sorry, the lecture 5, the Islamic corporate product. And the question will be, I have not decided yet, I will ask maybe the critical question this time. The last time I asked the calculation, now I'll ask the time to ask the critical one. So you have to be able to answer the critical question as well. So in the final exam, I will ask how to solve both sides, like critical and calculations. So this gonna have during the class hours. So as I told you, if you have already got the good marks, there is no need to attend it. But if you wish to attend, you're welcome. There's no problem on it. And for the quiz, I want to apply another technique of preventing from different types of cheating. But I'm sure that you're not cheating. It's just a regulation that the dean office is asking me to do it, is to use the cameras. Cameras shared, not on. Azamat raised the hand. Okay, Azamat, what is the issue?
Oh yeah, I just want to know about the test result. Is it possible to know like whether
It's in the Moodle. It's in the Moodle.
oh
It's in the Moodle. You can check it. The Moodle automatically gives you the answer once I grade it.
okay,
Once I
thank you.
grade it. You're welcome.
I have
And
a question as well. If we have good marks, but if we take the third quiz, it's not going to be like as bonus, right? It's just
no.
Okay.
It's just an option for you to know what kind of question you may face, like a critical question.
I have also a question, sorry.
Yes.
On the model is only the results of the third quiz, as I remember. I checked it, but I don't know the second. But I don't know the result of the first. How to check?
Okay, I will share the homeworks and all the results with you all together, okay? After the class, I'm going to share all the marks that you got so far and what's up you have to work till to get improved. Somebody's writing. Okay. Concerning the cameras, guys, would it be possible for you to install in your telephones and put it aside so that I can see your screen and I can see your hands and face together? Actually, the face, I don't need to see it, but it's better to see the head and the hands and your screen of your
Where should
computer.
we put telephones then?
Actually, if it's like from the 90 degrees, if you put it from the right side, from the 90 degrees, you can see everything. I can share the picture, even the video. Like all the universities that are online-based universities that are applying this proctoring program, but we don't have this proctoring program. We will use this Zooming, so it's better to use in this way. But I'm gonna share the picture how we can do it.
Okay, sounds good.
So we have to take the exam on our computer, but we have to have Zoom on our phone to show what we're doing, or what?
Yes, very smart, very true. That's good. You have to have mobiles on one side and your computers on the other side. So it will ask to put away from any potential cheating. I'm sure that you're not doing, but it's regulations.
Okay.
Any questions before we start?
No.
It's about quiz 3, right?
Yeah, we're gonna have the quiz 3, yes.
Okay, I got it.
And I hope that after the quarantine time, we will not get into online education because it's a bit tough. I don't know about you, but for me, it's a bit difficult to monitor, to deliver the lectures. It's a bit low. Now,
One more question. Sorry.
yes,
I'm
please.
sorry. For instance, if we just want to see the quiz 3, but not like to answer, can we just see what kind of question can be?
Yeah, sure, but after the
for
quiz.
ourselves?
After the quiz.
After the quiz. Okay.
Once everyone is done with the quiz, I can share the quiz questions with you. No problem.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. What else? Yes, if you don't have a question, I have a question towards to you concerning the data that you're collecting, that you're working. Did you have any problems in combining, like you had one Islamic bank and you had a problem with combining second Islamic to the first one? Did you have any problems? Do you want me to show it?
Sorry.
Yes.
You didn't show how to find theta at all. You just showed, then you tried to find theta with the help of someone's work, but you said that theta is not found, and then you just forget about this issue and didn't explain, because I watched
Which
your
theta? Which theta?
any theta.
It's a total equity over total asset.
But how should we find it with the help of with the help of Stata?
You mean how to do it in analysis?
Yes, because
so it didn't work in you?
No, because your formula needs Stata and other stuff that we don't have in our first in our first homework, which you gave us related to our project.
Wait.
You didn't
Actually, no. What you need to do, guys, is to run the Stata first of all and use the data. And the theta, it was in my subject. Do you have the data with you? Can you send me to my email now? I'll go immediately click on it to show you.
Which data? With two banks?
Your data, yeah, with 2 banks. Give it to me.
I will send you. Okay.
Julia will send. Okay.
Yes.
Just send it. I'll get it now immediately so that I can show it to you. Thank you for raising this issue.
Because I watched your other video, but it's not
helpful
related to our subject. Yeah, and I just confused yesterday. That's why I wasn't able to continue doing my
okay.
project.
It's good that you're raising this question. Okay, just when you send me, just let me know. I'm just gonna download and run it quickly.
Excuse me, can someone remind me what the theta is?
Theta is total equity or total assets. It's just normal ratio. But I'm not sure, did I ask you to use this theta?
Theta.
Professor, I think she's confusing
I have not asked.
the
I think
example
I
that you
did.
showed us in your own data with.
Did I ask you to use the theta?
No.
Yes, you showed us to use data in our Word project.
No, it was your example because we don't.
Yeah, it was your example with your own stuff.
Okay, if it was mine, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to do it exactly the same thing.
Okay, I just was following your example. That's why.
Okay, means you're following step by step. Good job. Okay, the formula that you're required to do is here. And in here, yes, you have it, theta. It's here. It's total equity or total assets, but it's called in a different name. It's equity or total asset, EQTA.
Okay.
It's the same thing as the theta, because in my work, I just call it as a theta, because you can call it anyways, but at least you should use these ratios.
Okay, yeah, that's what we did.
Okay, you can call it eta, you can call it theta, but in my all researches, I call it theta.
Okay, so I don't need to send you.
Okay, no need. Okay, that's
okay,
good that
thank
it's clear.
you.
Oh, you're welcome. You're welcome.
Wow. Okay.
Everything is clear. Is there any problem to combine 2 different banks into one single file? Any problem with this?
You mean in Excel or?
Yeah, in Excel, just putting the second bank under this first one.
No, it's easy.
Okay, then that's great. That's great.
And also one question.
Yes, please.
According to your example, I wasn't able to understand where did you take beta. I mean the first number. I forgot
Beta
how
zero.
it's called.
Beta zero.
Yeah.
It is constant. It's C. It's a constant variable. It's intercept. It's a C. When you run the data, for example, everybody can see my sharing screen?
Yes, sure.
Okay. IB final data. XT set. And XT set. Oh. Now. Regress, let's say, NIM, my theta, NPL, CI, liquidity. And if you run it, here's the beta zero.
Okay.
It's a beta zero. Your
Okay.
theta can be beta 1, beta 2, beta 3. It depends how you wrote the model. Okay?
Okay. So it's our choice to decide, right?
Yeah. The order is your choice, but it should be consistent order. If you say the beta 1 will be for theta, then it should be always from beginning till the end. If you say the beta 2 should be for NPL, from beginning till the end, it should be consistent. But your beta 0 is always this constant. This is intercept. And the other coefficient, beta 1, beta 2, beta 3, they are the slope of the model. Okay, I'm just closing this data, and let us go into new chapter. So next Tuesday, we have a quiz, lecture 5, on Islamic corporate products. Okay, then. So Islamic bonds, in other words, we call Sukuk. So after completing this model, the reader will be able to understand the definition and the meaning of the Sukuk itself in details. They will be able to know the origin and the history of the Sukuk. The Sukuk is not recently developed. It is very old. It is, like we can say, taking to the 6th and 7th century. It's that much old. We will be able to understand the basic structure and the Sharia conditions of the Sukuk, how it should be performed. You will be able to get information about the different categories and various types of Sukuk that are available in the Islamic financial market, where you can buy and sell them. And you understand how the mechanics and operation, the Q futures, and what are the required documentations for the Sukuk to be issued. And you understand how the basic concepts such as Sukuk issuance, Sukuk trading, and Sukuk redemption, particularly to calculate the financial returns, the profit, and the shares of the parties with the respect of each of the Islamic and financial structure that is applied in Sukuk. So the Sukuk is the Sharia complaint alternative to the conventional bond that has grown up as a phenomena in the past decade. It shows a promising sign in the future. A striking difference between Sukuk and the conventional bond is that Sukuk is asset-based financial instrument where it is linked directly to the asset and where the income is derived from underlying asset, specific asset that brings in terms of lending, renting, or lending or using, utilizing or producing. So there should be a specific asset to give this income for the sukuk. But in the case of a conventional well-known bond, there is no linkage with the asset. It is linked to the bond, which can justify the income from interest, which is beared by the lender. So the investor rating agencies and the lead arrangers that perceive the sukuk as Sharia compliant bond. However, some scholars, Islamic scholars, they do not even define the sukuk as an Islamic bond or Sharia compliant bond. They say that this is asset-based or asset-backed security rather than like Islamic bond or Sharia compliant bond there. So it's again the definition of the sukuk has been divided into two parts. One say that it's a Sharia compliant bond, and the other one says no, it's asset-backed securities. So sukuk are the most important products for the Islamic capital market, and they come up with a large proportion of the Islamic financial industry. And why it has been very popular in the Islamic banking industry, and as it was the bond very popular in conventional banking industry, the main reason was a liquidity issue, because we know the Islamic banking, the banking system still they need to have a money, they need to meet the short-term demands. More or less the operations and the way of the operation is the same, to earn the money, to invest and generate some profit and distribute among the shareholders. But sometimes when you need the money urgently, there should be something that make you to get that access to that finance. So the Islamic banks, they decided to come up with a sukuk, the financial instrument, which is asset-backed based securities. And this will help them, actually this helped them already to solve the problem with the liquidity. Apart from the liquidity, it allows the corporations, not only the financial institutions, Islamic financial institutions, it allows the corporations as well to have the direct access to the funds in the financial market. So you don't have to go and get in touch with the bank intermediary, like with a middleman, and access for a bank, financial institution. So with the recognition of the sukuk as a Sharia compliant instrument in Islamic finance by any institution, the Islamic Fiqh academic comes right at top. So these are the first guy recently who has developed the sukuk in the financial market, in the Islamic financial market. So the first formal resolution issued by sukuk, on sukuk by Islamic Fiqh Academy was the resolution 30, and that concerning muqarada bonds. So before they were not called a sukuk, they were called like muqarada bonds. It's Islamic based bonds, and it was adopted in 1988. However, there are some articles, they say that this muqarada bond was issued by Jordanian government first in 1982, like even earlier than this date. But officially, Islamic Fiqh Academy issued sukuk, like muqarada bond, as the first bond in 1988. So the resolution was followed by the series equally important resolution from Islamic Academy, and it should be noted that resolution issued by Academy have addressed general theoretical aspect of sukuk, particularly the muqarada sukuk and ijara sukuk. So organization has declared the permissibility of sukuk on the basis of the following point. It was our fee, like accounting and auditing organization for Islamic financial institutions. So the basis for permissibility of issuing investment certificates is that such certificates are usually issued on basis of Sharia nominated contracts. So there is no other assets can be used, like sukuk murabaha, sukuk musharaka, sukuk ijara, sukuk wakala. So these are Sharia nominated contracts. There is no other contract can be existing under the issuance of the sukuk. So the basis for right certificate holders to management is that they own the property that their certificate represents. And the management is the part of that ownership. And we know that those nominated Sharia complaint contracts, the basic rule behind these contracts is you should be the owner of that contract. You should be the owner of that asset. Then you have a legitimacy to work, you have a legitimacy to trade on this, on a particular asset. So a brief history. According to the prominent research scholars, the documentary evidence far from the term of sak. Sak, by the way, is the plural word of sukuk. It begins in early Islamic caliphate. The earliest evidence from the sak found by Western researchers that comes during the 1st century Hijri, within 100 years of the Prophet, peace be upon him, and the migration from Medina to Mecca, or from Mecca to Medina. Although the hadith references to sukuk are limited, like there are the clear references in the literature that help establish for basis modern sukuk investment and their transfers. And it is was familiar, sort of popular, the sukuk, during the second caliphate after the main 4 caliphates. It was Umayyad caliphate. During that caliphate, it was very popular. So historical documents show by Imam Malik, like 7th century in Common Era, the Umayyad government would pay the soldiers and the public servant both in cash and in kind. So in kind, like they were given a kind of certificate. And the payment in kind was in the form of sukuk al-badai, which has been translated as commodity coupons. These sukuk were either redeemed on the maturity date against the fixed amount of the food commodity, or sold to others for a cash before its maturity comes. So we can see that from the historical background, it's around 7th century in Common Era. So coming to definition and derivation by IOFI, Sukuk is defined by IOFI as a certificate of equal value representing undivided share in ownership of tangible assets, usufruct and services of the assets of a particular project in a special investment activity. However, this is true after receipt of the value of the Sukuk and closing subscription, employment of funds received for the purpose for which sukuk were issued actually. So Arabic word sukuk is in plural word form is a sak, meaning that certificate which reflect the participation rights in underlying assets. The term of sukuk has been recognized in the traditional Islamic jurisprudence for a long time ago. Sharia recognizes and validates the financial asset that derives its return from performance of underlying a real tangible assets. So formally, sukuk represents proportionate and beneficial ownership of assets for a defined period when the risk and return associated with underlying asset in a pool that are passed to sukuk holders or investors. Sukuk plays an important role for investors by their ability to transfer the assets into the liquidity without long legal complications. You don't have to go to the bank. You don't have to go and apply and request for any loan or short-term loans to get that liquidity issue. So directly what you do, you just connect different investors and you pull their funds into a single pool. And this makes it easy and it just eliminates any complicated procedure to getting liquidity immediately as you need it. The process of designing sukuk is very similar to the securitization process in a conventional system. Just in conventional system, the securitization where the pool of asset is worked, as they collect all investors together, they bring all investors together as funds into a single pool, and they issue a security against that created pool. So the basic idea of securitization in Islamic finance is to transfer something. It is intangible asset, a useful or receivable, into a paper that are later tradable in the secondary market, in secondary financial Islamic market. And transformation of something that is illiquid into liquid is very defining of the process of securitization. And not only in Islamic finance, but also in conventional finance system. So the process is the same. But in conventional system, what they do, they convert the debts, they convert the loans. But in Islamic way of doing financing, they convert the return income from the real assets. Like you have a big business and there is a business that brings a profit, that profit will be shared, and that sharing the profit will be converted into the financial paper, which will be called a sukuk. So the special purpose vehicle, SPV, is a separate legal entity formed for the purpose of managing security issues. So the SPV is a capital and tax efficient. All operations of the SPV are limited to the acquisition and financing of specific assets. So the major characteristic of future of an SPV, it includes a bankruptcy remote. Does anyone is familiar with the bankruptcy remote? What does this future mean? Anyone?
No.
Okay, bankruptcy remote, it's created with the purpose if something goes wrong with the specific entity, if a specific entity goes wrong, goes into bankruptcy, it will not affect the major operation of the system, the major operation of company. Let me give you an example. So let's say we have a big corporation, okay? Oops, let me make it black. We have a big corporation, which is ABC. Inside of this corporation, we'll create another firm, which will be independent of the big corporation. And this firm will be called bankruptcy remote, because if this small firm will go bankrupt, it will not affect the operation of the major one. Same thing with the SPV, special purpose vehicle. They use it as a bankruptcy remote. If the sukuk fails in the firm, it will not affect the major operation of the firm. So the firm can produce the bread, but they can create a special purpose vehicle to issue the stocks, to issue the sukuk, so that they can attract more liquidity, more cash inflow. If something goes with that, if something goes wrong with that special purpose vehicle, this firm, they will not have a large impact on the majority operation of the major company. So this is called a bankruptcy remote. If it's bankrupt, it will be bankrupt by itself. So the major, as we said, it plays a significant role in collecting the investment amount, in purchasing the asset and issuing the sukuk. So to make an initiation of the bankruptcy or insolvency proceedings. So mainly, there are two different categories of sukuk that have been divided into two parts, which is asset-backed based sukuk and debt-based sukuk. So in here, just want to make you sure that debt-based sukuk, it doesn't necessarily mean the Islamic banks are providing loans. The instruments, they look similar to the debt, but they are not debt instruments. You will see what kind of instruments I'm talking about. You already know them. So asset-backed based sukuk are the sukuk in which asset remains with the issuer or with investor. So the owner throughout the maturity period. So the asset, they have it, they are the owner, and they will be the owner throughout the maturity. In this type of sukuk, the payoff to the investor is linked to the performance of that asset. The example are sukuk musharaka, sukuk al-mudaraba, sukuk al-ijara, and sukuk al-wakala. So these are the instruments that are asset-based sukuk, at the end you will be still the owner of the asset. Debt-based sukuk are the sukuk in which asset does not remain with the issuer, an investor, or the owner throughout the maturity period. So in this type of sukuk, the payoff to the investor is linked to the credit risk of the originator. So sukuk al-murabaha, sukuk al-istisna, and sukuk al-salam. So these are the example of debt-based sukuk. So here's the diagram or chart that differentiate the sukuks by types, by categories. So asset-backed sukuk like al-musharaka, mudaraba, ijara, and wakala, and debt-based sukuk are sukuk al-murabaha, sukuk al-istisna, and sukuk al-salam. So coming to sukuk al-musharaka. Guys, with your permission, let me get a water because my throat is. I'm coming, just 1 minute. Okay. So in accordance with definition that was provided by ROC, these are the certificates of equal value issued with the aim of using mobilized funds for establishing a new project. So developing an existing project, financing, business activities, or basic of any partnership contracts. So there are the certificate holders. They are the owners of the project or assets of activity as per perspective. So the issuer of this certificate is the inviter to the partnership. So basically, if I'm the issuer, I'm inviting the partners. I'm collecting all the investor into one single pool, investors' funds into one single fund pool. And in this way, I'm kind of inviting them. And they will be called subscribers and in the contract of al-musharaka sukuk. So these realized funds that are shared contribution of the subscribers in musharaka capital, the certificate holders, so they will be a holder of certificate, and these guys are the investors. If I'm a SPV issuer, I invited those investors and asked them to be subscribers. So they subscribe to my project, to my musharaka based sukuk, and they will in return hold a certificate that will show that they are the owner of the assets and they are the partner in a specific project, and they will be entitled to share the profit or losses as the main principle of musharaka. Like more than two or more parties, they come with this capital and contribute, and they're entitled to share profit or loss. So musharaka contract has two structures that are utilized for the purpose of issuing sukuk. The first one is shirkatul aqd and shirkatul mulk. So when it's a contractual partnership, it is a contract partnership agreement between two or more parties to combine their assets, to merge their services or obligation or liabilities with the aim of making profit. So just contribution of their capitals, like two or three parties, they come together and just contribute it. But when it comes to the partnership of ownership, shirkatul milk, is the partnership ownership is the combination of asset of two or more persons in the manner that creates a state of sharing or realized profit or income benefit and increase the value of the partnership asset. In here, we're trying to differentiate from the Shirkat al-Ard in the way that there will be one particular asset. That particular asset will be bought by 2 or 3 partners. Or one particular car that will be bought by 3 or 4 investors. Or investors can come with a different cars, let's say 3 investors, let's say in Shirkat al-Aqd, 3 investors come with the 3 cars as investment, then they rent it or lease it and they earn profit on it. Musharaka based. In partnership of Shirkat al-Milk, they 3 investors come and buy only 1 car. So they are the owner of one particular asset. I hope I was able to differentiate. So the structure of Sukuk al-Musharaka. So issuer of SPV, here we go, issues a prospectus and the investor subscribe and pay the proceeds as a principal amount. So I issue the certificate as issuer of SPV. I issue the prospectus and invite this investor. The investor then subscribe. Where's my mouse? Can't see it. And they pay the proceeds as a principal amount. After receiving the principal amount, the issuer of SPV issues the Sukuk to the investor. The Sukuk represented an undivided of ownership in underlying assets and going to be purchased. So they also represent the right of the investor for the periodic distribution amount or dissolution of amount. The issuer of SPV declares a trust over the proceeds and thereby acts as a trustee on the behalf of the investor. So issuer of SPV, the one who initiated this SPV, this special purpose vehicle, the one who issues the stock. So we issue the stock. Before issuing, the investor pool their funds as a principal amount to me. Then I issue as a SPV, as an Islamic bank, the Sukuk. Issuer of SPV, me, Islamic banking, enters into the Musharaka agreement with arrangement originator, like the owner of the asset, the one who has got the asset, let's say, the specific project, specific business that we're going to run that's going to bring some profit or if there is a loss. So Musharakat agreement. SPV and originator, we are both agree on the contribution to the capital of the Musharaka and allocation of the number of the units in the Musharaka in the proportion of the contribution by the investors. Issuer SPV pays the principal amount to the originator as its contribution to the Musharaka capital. So the originator transfers the Musharaka units. It transfers it. Then that Musharaka unit starts to work. If everything goes perfectly, once the Musharaka units started work to produce something and then we realized to sell it, they started to share the profit. Once issuer of SPV received the profit or Islamic bank received the profit, by the way, it's not the whole Islamic bank, it's a small entity was created within the Islamic bank. That's why we call as bankruptcy remote. If something goes wrong, this should only affect those who are involved in this entity. So we earn profit. If there is a loss, we share the loss. I mean, the loss is shared by investor actually, because they are the one who are contributors. But Islamic banks is mainly acting as management part here, trying to organize everything.
Sorry, but what about originator? Does he or she is gonna share the loss as well? Because musharaka is when both parties invest in capital, no?
Musharaka, look, originator is mainly related to the person who will be hired by Islamic bank as a manager in here, who will run the business. But the real contributors are these guys.
Okay, okay, thank you.
So in the case of loss, wait, musharaka, yes, true, very true. Your comments are very true. The originator is contributing as well in here. The originator of the assets, he's coming with contribution and the management together. He has some contribution in here. So the musharaka, where all the investors, they come up with the contribution all together. But SPV issuer, he's managing in connection between the originator and the investor. Investors, they don't do anything in here. They are not involved in the management. They are just holding the certificates and receiving some proceeds. Okay, if there is a profit, they will receive their proceeds. They will receive their income from that profit. If there is a loss, they're gonna share that loss. Originator and investors will share the loss according to what they contributed. But majority contribution comes from the investors. Why, for example, who is the person who wants the financing? Actually, the person who wants the originator is the person who wants to solve the problem with the liquidity. For example, if this originator, he has a business and he wants to expand that business. Let's say he had a certain business. Now he wants to make the business bigger, to open a second branch. To open the second branch, he needs to have extra money. So in this way, he goes to Islamic bank and asks the Islamic bank to issue to solve the problem with the liquidity. And Islamic bank says, okay, I'll find the investor to you. I'll create the pool. I'll invite the investor to that pool, and I will give them certificates of Sukuk, which will show the ownership of the company. So they will be the owner of this company as well. So they will hold the certificate, and this will show that they are the owner of this company. So this is why the originator here. So the originator is the owner as well, at the same time as the investor. So they hold the Sukuk, they receive. Once this started to work, once they started to produce something and give some profit, this profit is shared. If there is a loss, they're gonna share the loss. But with some conditions. It has a maturity. So till the maturity, they will receive it. But after that maturity, the originator will transfer the dissolution amount, the amount that he has promised at the beginning, that he will buy back their certificates, and he will transfer the money back, the face value or the par value we call it in a bond, and to issuer that issuer FSPV will transfer the amount back. If there was a loss and the company end up with the bankrupt, then they will not get anything. They will share the loss. This is how the musharaka, Sukuk al-Musharaka works. Any questions? Okay. If no questions, you should. Okay, this is mechanics of the Sukuk al-Musharaka, how it works. I just explained everything. So the key features of underlying the structure of the Sukuk al-Musharaka, the Musharaka enterprise must be Sharia compliant. So any contract which is based on the Musharaka, it should be involving in a Sharia compliant product. The ratio of the profit share must be mutually agreed before getting into that agreement. And there should not be any lump sum percentage of the Musharaka capital contribution. If I contributed $10,000, I want to get 10% of it. So there is no such a thing. So you will share the profit, whatever the profit is generated, but you cannot claim a certain amount of the percentage of profit from the contributed capital. Before the maturity or termination of the Musharaka, the profit shall be distributed among the parties by the constructive liquidation Musharaka asset. So when you construct the Musharaka contract, there should be an article that will underline a liquidation Musharaka asset. So in terms of when you terminate, it should be going up in accordance with these requirements of liquidation. The Musharaka asset must be comprising at least 33% of tangible asset. Or there are some scholars say that it should be at least 50%. The half of it should be tangible assets. So any business you offer, any project you offer, at least there should be 33% of tangible assets. This is according to our fee, but there are some scholars, they claim it should be 50%. So the losses should be shared by parties in the proportion for the capital they contributed. Both originator and the trustee, from the Sharia perspective, can terminate the Musharaka at any time after giving notice. So these are the required documentation. You don't have to memorize this required documentation to issue the stocks. This is more legal and law-based issue. I'm just skipping this part. Okay. According to, we're moving to the second part, which is asset-backed based Sukuk, Sukuk al-Mudaraba. There are certificates that represent the projects or activities managed on the basis of Mudaraba by appointing one partner or another person, the third party, which is not from the investors, as Mudarib, with the purpose to manage a certain project. So the issuer of this certificate is Mudarib, and the subscribers are the owners of the capital, Rabbul Mal. So the realized funds are the Mudaraba capital. So certificate holders own the assets of the Mudaraba, and earned profit are distributed among the Mudarib and the owners of the capital, while the loss is shared by the owners of the capital, with some condition, of course. If the Mudarib was not ethical in his operational businesses, and there was notice that there was a misconduct behavior, then there can be case that it can be taken to the court, so the Mudarib can be sued. So in here, we can see that issuer of SPV is Islamic Bank, is creating the certain entity. In the same way, it issues prospectus, and then investors are subscribing to that that entity, to that pool, which was issued by SPV. And when they subscribing, it means they're providing their capital, they're providing their principal amount of the money, let's say $1 million as a summation to that pool. Against that pool, the issuer of SPV, he issues the certificate of Sukuk to the investors. Here. So it always starts with the issuer of SPV. Issuer of SPV issues a prospectus and tries to invite the investors. Once the investors are invited, they subscribe to the pool and they transfer the principal amount. Against that transferred principal amount, a certificate of Sukuk is issued to those investors. And issuers of SPV declares a trust over the proceeds that they collected or organized pool. So there should be a trust certificate that this issuer of SPV has got the right to do their businesses, to act on the behalf of the investors' funds. So the issuers of SPV and the originator, who was the first guy who initiated, who requested for liquidity issue, they both enter to the Mudaraba contract. As per agreement, originator will be acting as Mudarib in here. The initiator, the originator can be any type of organization. The Islamic Bank can be itself. So there's Islamic Bank, it may have its own entity, which can be created within the Islamic Bank. They may call as like SPV, and they may request for liquidity from this entity. So an Islamic Bank may act as Mudarib for specific project as a manager. So the profits generated by Mudaraba enterprise are divided between the issuer of SPV and the originator, as we agreed. So the originator didn't see the faces at all of the investor. They don't know each other. The originator knows the entity of SPV only. If there is a profit, they will share between the originator and issuer. So the profit is shared. If there is a loss, the loss will be incurred by SPV. If there is a profit, the profit will be shared by this amount. There is a cases that sometimes originator, the manager, Mudarib, can be doing their job in a best way and can generate abnormal profit. The profit that even the investor didn't expect. So the higher profit. So for that purpose, the issuer of SPV can kind of compensate, can kind of give a motive amount for the Mudarib for a good work, for a successful work, apart from the sharing the profit. So this will be kind of, we call, in other words, incentive for the Mudarib if he outperforms whatever task he was given at the beginning. So the same thing in here, this security or Sukuk, it has maturity. And in the case of maturity, they should redeem. So investor, they ask from SPV for redemption of Sukuk. And as issuer of SPV, transfer the asset back against the amount of the money that will be paid. We call a dissolution amount. Dissolution period will be given back to this issuer. That issuer will transfer this dissolution amount back to the investor. If everything was successful and it reached its maturity. So one thing here, guys, very important. Investors, in the previous case as well, investors who hold the certificate, they can easily sell this certificate. So, okay, they are the owners of certain project. They are the owners of certain assets. For example, investor A can easily sell his own certificate to another investor. So the investor will be replaced by names. And it's not complicated transaction actually. So we can see the benefit of having Sukuk. First of all, it solves the liquidity issue. Second, it creates a bankruptcy remote entity. And the third, the transfer of the ownership, it's not difficult as it is difficult in the case of partnership agreement. And this partnership has got the maturity. So until some period, there will be maturity. So the originator will buy back their assets from the investors. Any questions?
On what the maturity depends on what? Like maybe, for instance, if the asset is building a house on a construction, like approximate years for the construction of the whole house, can it be?
Yeah, it can be using the construction, good example. And second can be, for example, if I want to produce bread, I'm buying the machinery to produce the bread, and you know that machinery that I'm planning to buy, it has got useful life. It will not last forever. It may last maybe for 10 years. So my business will run certainly for this. So each project, any project that is being run has got its project life. It can be 10 years, it can be 5 years, it can be 20 years. So until this maturity ends, they put this maturity. If it's construction issue, if it's going to be constructed during the 5 years, then put the maturity for 5 years.
Okay, so the maturity depends on underlying asset.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
And of course, that maturity should be clearly defined before issuing the certificates of Sukuk. So this is the mechanics of the Sukuk al-Mudarab in detail, like from first to 16th step is written down. If you didn't understand anything in here, if you forgot when you're going to review it at home, you just read it again. Okay. The key features of underlying the structure, Mudaraba enterprise must be same as Musharaka, Sharia complaint product. The originator is acting as Mudarib, should perform its obligation with a degree of skill and care that would exercise in the respect of its own assets. So Mudaraba would be entered into the restricted basis, al-Mudaraba Muqaida, in which originator must invest the Sukuk proceeds in accordance with the specified investment plan. So he cannot go beyond any plan was put before they're entering into that agreement. If there was a plan, they should not go beyond that plan. And that is called as Mudaraba al-Muqaida. And for Sharia purposes, again, at least 33% of the capital of Mudaraba enterprise should be invested in tangible assets. And according to some scholars, it says it should be invested at least 50% in tangible assets. And one question to you guys. The key features in here. Why do you think that there is such a regulation, like at least 33% or at least 50% should be invested in a tangible asset? Why do you think so? Why there is such a requirement by our fee or by Islamic scholars?
Maybe it's because of liquidation. In the case of liquidation or bankruptcy, they can sell these assets and, I don't know, generate cash somehow and pay to the investors. Maybe, I don't know.
Yes, it's a good point. It's very true, because the main reason is if there is a loss, if there is a bankruptcy, there will be something at least left to distribute among the investors. So the investors will not lose everything. So their loss will not be equal to zero. There will be something that can be liquidated and distributed among the investors, but it will be distributed in accordance to their contribution. If somebody who contributed, let's say 30%, the other guy contributed 70%, so they will not share like proportional. They will not share like half and half. They will share the 30% of that liquidated asset will get that who contributed 30%, and 70% who contributed, you'll get just 70% of it. This is the main reason. So the issuer of these certificates is the inviter who invites the partners, and the subscribers are the partners or the investors in the contract. So the realized funds are the share contribution of the subscribers to the Musharaka capital, and certificate holders own the assets of the partnership and entitled to share both the profits and losses. So they are the owners until some maturity. So the profit sharing ratio between SPV and originator must be agreed before they enter into the contract Mudaraba agreement. Any losses of the Mudaraba enterprise would be shared by SPV, except in the case of fraud. As I told, there is always a case condition. If there is a misconduct behavior from the side of Mudarib, then this should be taken into consideration and delivered to the court issue. And there is no guarantee return shall be given to investors by Mudarib, because whatever the profit will be generated will be shared accordingly, and it cannot be claimed that a certain percentage of return from the contributed capital, same as in Musharaka. One more question again. Why do you think that the banks, for example, let me return back here so that we can read it. This second feature. The ratio of the profit sharing must be mutually agreed at the outset in the terms of percentage of realized profit, but not as a lump sum amount or percentage of Musharaka capital contribution. Why do you think that there is such a feature that exists in Musharaka and Mudaraba in all Sharia complaint agreements, that there shouldn't be any percentage from contributed capital? Rather, there should be percentage from the generated profit. Why do you think so? There shouldn't be. If there is, if the Islamic Bank allows for the percentage of the Musharaka by capital contribution, like if I contributed $10,000, $100,000, and I'm asking like 10% of contributed capital, which is $10,000. So no matter what happens. So then what is the problem with this?
Well, they might not be able to pay that, because if they realize little small profit, how they're going to pay from one side, or from the other side, maybe they are assuming that this money, well, capital, they're going to be reinvested, I don't know, for the operations in order to generate further profits, maybe.
No. So can you tell me how the conventional banking system earns money? Isn't the percentage from the invested capital?
Well, it is percentage on how much money they, for instance, they take, the customers borrow, no?
Go to deposit site. When you put the deposit, the customers, when they put the deposit, how much money they earn, how they earn there? They earn from the invested capital. They earn from the contributed capital to the bank, isn't it?
Yes, yes.
Yes.
So this is the main reason why the Islamic Bank doesn't allow the percentage of contribution from the contributed capital. If they allowed it, then they say, then what is the difference between the conventional and Islamic Bank? If the Islamic Bank allows a percentage from contributed capital, and the same the conventional bank does, so there is no difference. Then what is the meaning of being Islamic banking then? So the Islamic Bank doesn't allow the percentage of contributed capital. It allows the percentage from generated profit, if there is a profit. And generated profit, you don't know how much profit you're going to earn on it. You can make estimation, and that profit will be shared, not from the contributed capital. When you say I need a percentage From contributed capital, you mean in here, no matter what happens, you have to give me this money. Even if you're lost, you have to give me. I don't care about what you incurred or what's up here now. Okay, this is key features of underlying structure. And required documentations, they are more or less the same with Musharak and Mudaraba. You don't need to memorize it. There is no need, but I want you guys to know these things, these key features of underlying. You don't have to memorize. It's just by logic, everything. Like if you know them, it's good that you can really apply each structure. Yet you really can understand why Musharaka is important, why the Musharaka is Islamic finance way of doing business and Mudaraba is Islamic way of finance doing the business as well. So these key features are very important when you issue the Sukuk. Okay, coming to Sukuk al-Ijara, actually we have 3 minutes. Let me just stop in here before I move it to this part, and I don't want to stop in the middle. So I'm starting in the Sukuk al-Ijara. Do you have any questions?
When do you have a midterm?
What midterm? We don't have midterm.
What about, like you said, to see what we're doing and so?
It's a quiz. It's a quiz.
Oh, okay.
It's a quiz. Midterm 2, Azamat, we don't have it. Let me remind you again. Here's the. Can everyone see it?
Yes, yes.
Exam
Yes.
1, you already did it. Exam 2 consists of term project that you're working now, plus the quizzes. Quizzes is 10%. I'm gonna select 2 best quizzes out of 3. And the final exam will be 40%. Okay? And
When is the date
additionally,
for final exam? Because we don't have it on a schedule.
Sorry?
The date for the final exam, because we don't have it on our schedule.
Yes, we will arrange it together. We will ask
Oh,
together.
okay.
We'll,
Okay.
once we're done with the quizzes and term project, we're gonna discuss when we should go with final exams. We arrange one date and etc.
Okay, thank you.
So there will be additional up to 10 extra points, additional, but it doesn't mean that everybody will get 10%, 10 extra points. It will be up to 10. Okay? For class participation, for class doing things.
Could you show, please, the first midterm or first exam results?
Okay, quiz.
Professor, I have a question.
Yes, please.
Even though if we are pleased with our first and second quizzes, can we still take the third one just to
sure,
challenge ourselves?
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. For example, Dana, Ablay Khan. And I think
as I remember, I hadn't wrote it.
So guys, you have to attend it in any ways. And Camila must attend. Azat. So Hakim must attend. Please attend. Okay, if those who got good marks, no problem. And here's the second mark. Yes.
About the first quiz, there is percentage, right?
Yes, I just put it directly, but it's out of 5%. If 100, it's 5. 75, we should get 75% out of 5.
Okay. And quiz 2 is just points.
Yeah, just put it points directly instead of just.
Okay.
Okay, if you don't have any questions, I will stop. Thank you for your attending. I really appreciate that all of you are attending.
I'm sorry, and we should Download the Zoom on computer. Yes, I understand.
No, you should download the Zoom